And it is in response not to United States policy, not to, obviously, the administration, not to the American people. It is in response to a video, a film, that we have judged to be reprehensible and disgusting. That in no way justifies any violent reaction to it. But this is not a case of protests directed at the United States writ large or at U.S. policy. This is in response to a video that is offensive and to Muslims. Again, this is not in any way justifying violence, and we've spoken very clearly out against that and condemned it. And the President is making sure in his conversations with leaders around the region that they are committed as hosts to diplomatic facilities to protect both personnel and buildings and other facilities that are part of the U.S. representation in those countries.
Jay Carney earlier, this is not a case of protest directed at the United States, no, or U.S. policy. Jay, you are a fool, and the administration is beyond foolish and naive and reckless and irresponsible, and it now makes this a dangerous situation. You know, we're watching the world burn here. We're watching every U.S. embassy being attacked. Now, let me ask you a question. If it's not against the United States, then explain to me why it was the U.S. embassy, you know, the $2 billion a year donor to the Muslim Brotherhood. Why was it the U.S. embassy at Cairo that was attacked? Why was it the U.S. flag ripped down and burned? Why was it, Al-Qaeda flags and sympathizers and long live Osama bin Laden chanted, etc.? Why was it that happening? Why was it the U.S. embassy in Libya? Why was it the UN, a U.S. ambassador killed? Why is it the U.S. embassy in London as the American flag burns today? And protesters smashing windows, setting fires at the embassy in Tunisia, in the Sudan, and all around the world. And the protests continue and intensify near the U.S. in Cairo. If it's not against the United States, you know, if it's not a war on terror, if it's not a war against radical Islamists, if Fort Hood is a case of workplace violence, not an act of terrorism by an individual, in that case, Major Hassan, or this is an overseas contingency operation, a man-caused disaster, we can't say war on terror. I mean, it is unbelievable. And the official position of the United States, they're no longer an ally. Wait. Yes, of course they're an ally. What? Either they are or they're not. Well, this is a peaceful government. The Muslim Brotherhood? The Muslim Brotherhood that is dedicated to the Quran, Sharia law, dying in the name of Allah, which is their motto and has been their express motto for a long time? You know, how reckless, how irresponsible can any one administration be? Brigitte Gabriel is with us, Act for America, and also he is Stanley Cohen is a Hamas sympathizer and attorney for the terror group, is back with us. Although why I have the patience for you today, I don't even know. Let me start with Brigitte. Brigitte, let me just start with the administration and their reaction to all of this and get your reaction.
Yes. The administration does not understand the threat. This goes to show you what he said this morning. They don't have an idea when it comes to foreign policy what we are dealing with. This was an attack against the United States. The video, the film, was used only as an excuse. And the reason why those of us who monitor Arabic press and who monitor the Muslim Brotherhood know this is because a few weeks ago, Al-Fajr newspaper, the Egyptian newspaper, which is the second largest after Al-Ahram newspaper, published an article that members of Jama'ah Islamiyya and other Islamic groups were putting pressure on Morsi to put pressure on the United States to release all prisoners from American prisons, including all the prisoners in Gitmo and also Sheikh Abdurrahman, the blonde sheikh in America, because Morsi promised them if they will elect him, he's going to release the sheikh and the prisoners at Gitmo. And when they were putting pressure on Morsi and they realized that Morsi was not doing enough, that's one, they threatened to attack the embassy. Now, if I know this information as a terrorism analyst, where is the failure within our administration of not getting this information? I'm sure they have people that read the Arabic language just as much as I read the Arabic language. And for them to speak to the American public as if we are fools just goes to show you that they do not understand what they're doing. It's like the blind leading the blind in this administration, whether it's the president's advisors, his intelligence committees, or the president himself, and endangering our country in the process.
How are you going to defend this, Mr. Cohen? I'm
not going to. I'm going to take the same position that George Bush did when 12 American embassies were attacked, including the Green Zone, repeatedly. I think what's probably more perverse than anything else here is that the missile that killed the U.S. ambassador and also killed the other 3 SEALs probably said, "Made in the USA." That particular unit was probably funded.
Stanley, this conversation is going to be short because you know what? You want to divert into your own Hamas-supporting political agenda. If you're not going to deal with the topic at hand, and this guy was raped. This guy's body was gone. He was missing for 12 hours. They didn't know where he was. He was murdered in cold blood without provocation by a bunch of Islamists. And do you not recognize their agenda?
3 weeks ago, they did a joint military operation with Israel. Everyone was furious in the Middle East over that. His own people are mad at him. You know, he must be doing something right because everyone's mad at him. That seems to me to say it's working. 6 weeks ago, they did a joint military operation in the Sinai. 36 people were killed. The treaty, which you predicted would be flushed down the toilet 2 months ago, is still there. He said it's going to stay there. It's a terrible situation.
Excuse me. Morsi is
I am no apologist.
You are a total apologist.
This is every bit as outrageous as the drone attacks that you love, which is killing Americans all over the Middle East. Well, not all over the Middle East, but has killed Americans in the Middle East. Extrajudicial assassination.
You are such a sympathizer. You're such a sympathizer for terror. It's almost not really even worth having you on the program, to be honest, because you're so lacking in fundamental, basic truth and knowledge. It's actually shocking that you even have a law degree.
Stop funding. Pull out of the Middle East completely.
No, it might happen. Listen, I'm all for it. I don't want to give the Muslim Brotherhood another dime.
I don't want to give anyone a penny. Stop paying.
You know what I want to do?
Israel. Stop paying $3 billion.
No, we'll give the money to Israel.
Stop paying Israel billions of dollars a year to kill Palestinians. Stop paying Israel billions of dollars.
You've got it as usual, ass backwards, but that's not a shock. You've got it as usual. You know who the victims are and who the perpetrators are.
Israel is our eyes and ears in the Middle East. At least Israel protects and defends and works with America's interest over in the Middle East. What we did with Libya, and you mentioned the ambassador, it was those radicals that we helped bring to power, funded by our tax dollars and Obama's decisions, are the people that killed our ambassador, that captured him, tortured him, sodomized him, killed him, and then dragged him in the street. His pictures being dragged in the street and dead is already up on Arab press, airing all throughout the Middle East. Our government is embarrassed to even show his pictures up on the air in America because Americans will be livid if they saw his pictures. I saw the pictures. Agence France Presse already published the pictures. At-Tayyar magazine and newspaper in Lebanon already published the pictures of our ambassador being humiliated, tortured. He doesn't even look the same. You need to see at these pictures, and you need to see how America is being disrespected overseas right now because of the failed policy of a president who has been a community organizer, who doesn't know how to lead, who has failed on the economic front, failed in the national policy front, failed on the foreign policy front, and it's about time the American public wakes up and acts for America.
Let me ask a quick question. Let me ask a quick question to Mr. Cohen. Here is the Muslim Brotherhood. This is what their motto is. Allah is our objective, the Prophet our leader, the Quran our law, jihad our way, and dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope.
My church was destroyed by settlers.
I'm asking.
Go to Israel where every week
listen, stop, Stanley. I'm gonna throw you off the program. My patience is thin for your spin. I'm asking you again. Is that the motto of a country that we ought to be in any way giving any money to? And is that not the motto of a group of radical Islamists?
Brave. What do you want? want? I agree with you, Sean. It's been 15 years
so
since
the
we've
Muslim
agreed about
Brotherhood.
anything.
So the Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization.
The
You agree?
Muslim Brotherhood is no more a terrorist organization than George Romney's camp.
Okay.
They were elected free. They were elected
George
by their
Romney's
people.
camp.
They still haven't. They haven't broken the treaty with Israel. They're doing joint ventures with Israel. Everyone's mad at the Muslim Brotherhood. It sounds like they must be doing something right.
Oh, so
The only-
hang on a second, Brigitte. So it's right to go and attack our embassy, rip down our flag, put up an Al Qaeda flag, go to our embassy in Libya and rip down our flag and attack our embassy and kill 4 people. They must be doing something right. Is that right by your definition?
Listen,
is that right by your definition? Are you deaf? Can you hear my question?
Down, screaming, get the weapons of mass destruction, invade Iraq.
You're just
you beat the drums of war. A million
Stanley
and a half dead
Cohen,
people. Iraq
you
is
are
falling
a
to hell.
fool.
Afghanistan's falling to
You
hell.
are a
Obama
complete
didn't start that.
and utter apologist and fool. I have no more time for you. Let's go to Brigitte. I'll give you the final word.
This is the time when the American public need to call our elected officials and tell them in no uncertain terms that funding to these radical countries need to stop immediately. We are borrowing money from China while our people are starving, so we can fund regimes like the new regime in Libya or the new regime in Egypt. This has to stop. On our website, Act for America, we just posted the phone numbers for the White House, for the Speaker of the House, for both houses and Senate. We want people to call and tell them to stop funding the Middle East. Go to actforamerica.org and take action today and start taking back our country.
All right, Brigitte Gabriel, thanks so much for being with us. Let's go to our busy telephones as we say hi to Donna is in Frederick, Maryland on the Sean Hannity Show. Donna, hi, how are you? Welcome to the program.
Hi, Sean. I'm doing well. Thank you very much for taking my call. I also want to tell you how much I appreciate the attention you've given to this matter. And I think we're at a point, a real pivotal point in this country, where we need to give attention to these supercells, these sleeper cells, that are here domestically, and what we're going to do about it, and hopefully what President Romney will be doing about it.
Listen, I think it's deeper than that. I think that if you look at the Middle East, the Muslim Brotherhood, Allah, our objective, the Prophet, our leader, Quran, our laws, jihad, which is holy war, our way, dying in the way of Allah, our highest hope. Look, here's a guy, Morsi, that has led this Muslim Brotherhood. This has been a known terrorist organization for a long time. And, you know, this was a guy that referred to Jews as vampires, meaning President Morsi. This is a guy that now heads this country, is taking our money, building his military, meeting with the Ayatollahs and the Grand Supreme Leader and Adolf Jr. Ahmadinejad. What we've got to understand here in the broader context, and I have been saying this for some time, is that this is the rise of what I think potentially, God forbid, listen, I pray I'm wrong. I pray to God, because the potential for mass death and destruction is probably bigger than at any other point in history when you couple in not only fanaticism but the weapons capability of some of these groups and countries. But this is a desire, a stated goal. First, to start wiping Israel off the map, which if they get these weapons, they will be able to do. What does that mean? That is a Holocaust in our lifetime. And then beyond that, again, if you believe in the 12th Imam as Adolf Jr. does, and you believe that this is what your religion is telling you to do, and holy war is your way, and dying in the way of Allah. In other words, people that will strap bombs on their young kids and send them into pizza parlors and promise them 72 virgins. If the numbers are as great as I think, and they keep acquiring, let's see, one big piece of real estate after another, and the United States of America says, well, this is not directed against us, and we have this inability to call out terrorism for being terrorism, and terrorists for being terrorists, and terrorist groups for being terrorist groups, and we can't say war on terror, and we have an incident where a guy kills an armed military base, how many people, and says Allahu Akbar, and we call it workplace violence, and overseas contingency operations, man-caused disasters, and we thread the needle, and we don't talk about we're putting our head in the sand, which is the moral equivalent of Neville Chamberlain, saying we can have peace in our time. Do I think the threat is that real? Absolutely. I think it's that real. And worse, We don't know how deeply entrenched in their nuclear program the Iranian is, but we do know between Syria and Egypt and, let's see, you got the Muslim Brotherhood, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, Hamas, proxy wars being fought, stated goals one after another, Libya now, North Africa. They all want to kill Israel. Anybody see this? Not our White House, apparently.